What I'm most interested in is the fact that in my background is not that of being a professional psychotherapist or psychologist or anything like that. I'm actually a Stanford trained engineer, and I went to Stanford on a football scholarship many years ago and graduated in engineering and was fascinated by what I call personal performance psychology. You know, you are what you think you are type things. And that always propelled me. I just always was interested in it. And so I got more and more interested in things that came my way, and EFT resulted from all that.
What does EFT stand for?
Emotional freedom techniques. And it's basically an emotional version of acupuncture, except we don't use needles. Instead, we zero in on an emotional issue, and we stimulate the meridians by using our fingertips. We tap on them with our fingertips, sending balancing energy down them, and that tends to help balance out any discordance that occurs within somebody's emotional issues. Balances it out, and done properly, the angers and the guilts and the whatever it is we're aiming at just seems to fade, and they couldn't get upset about something if they tried. You know?
What does balancing energy actually mean, though?
Well, that's my way of putting it. I'll put it that way. Okay, there's a lot of mysteries about what energy is, and the whole acupuncture meridian system has its own hand-me-down system from millenniums, you know, over time, 5,000 years actually. And so, what they call energy is a little different than what Western people call energy. To them, energy, to the Eastern acupuncture people, energy is more of the I'm going to call it a mild form of electricity that comes throughout the body that is necessary for the body's health, and it needs to flow properly. That's different than the energy you think of, like the atomic bomb. When it explodes, all this energy occurs. It's a different form of energy. The acupuncturists call it qi, the Chinese call it qi, you know, but it's this subtle energy that flows through the body, and it's discovered that it needs to be flowing properly for proper health. And what we've discovered is that when somebody's having an emotional issue, they're angry about something or they're fearful about something. I'll take the fear of heights as an example. Okay, they go to the top of a building, and the energy free flow in their system is now disrupted. It goes like that. Okay, it's sort of like a short circuit in a radio. Okay, and that's what they're feeling, is this disruption in their energy system. And so what we do with EFT is we will tap on the endpoints of these meridians, and there's several of them. And as we do that, while we're tuned into this difficulty being up high, for example, this disruption fades. The disruption goes away. And when that goes away, the fear of heights goes away. For that matter, the guilt over a certain issue goes away. The anger about something else goes away. And so on it goes throughout the rainbow of emotions that people have.
You mentioned tapping on meridians. First of all, what is a meridian, and what exactly is tapping?
Well, okay. In the Chinese acupuncture system, there are 12 meridians, they're called. These are circuits that go throughout the body. And they go, oftentimes they go from toes clear up through your head, okay? But they go to different parts of your body. And there's also 2 vessels, but they're basically there's 14 altogether circuits that go through the body through which various forms of this energy circulates. And it's one or more of these meridians that gets disrupted. And when I say tapping, we just take our fingertips and we simply tap, you know, on one of the meridian points. That's what I mean.
So you tap rather than putting a needle in there, for example?
Yeah, instead of needles, we just tap. It makes it very portable, very easy to use. Anybody can do it, and so on.
And of course, there might be many people watching and listening to this who think this sounds completely like quackery.
Uh-huh.
I mean, how do you answer that? How do you deal with that?
Well, 20 years ago when I started, that's all I got was what? You do what? And what happens, you know? But then we started actually doing it. And I would take people who were completely skeptical about this. No way. I mean, they were arguing and everything else. They'd even come to a workshop I was doing just to sit there and heckle me, okay? I remember one lady came and she had grief because her daughter had died 2 or 3 years prior to this. And she had very heavy grief. The mere mention of her daughter, you know, would bring tears and all of that. And so during the workshop, we started doing this crazy, if you will, tapping. And the grief, the over the top, the unnecessary part of this grief just faded. The tears just weren't there. Of course she missed her daughter, but this over the top, really difficult part, just, it's sort of like you were deflating a balloon. It just, all the energy just went out of it. Just no reason to do that anymore. And so you do that a few times and the skeptics turn to, what's that all about? You know, to the curious. And eventually you keep doing it and you teach other people to do it, and they're doing it. And we keep getting results and results and results. After a while, it starts to spread.
So how have you built up a whole system? Because from what you're saying, it's not just arbitrary. You don't just tap here, tap here. Do you have a special system? Is there a manual of how to do this, for example?
Well, yeah, I've put together a tutorial, it's an online type tutorial that describes the whole thing from beginning to end. When I first did it, I had an EFT manual that I wrote. It's now obsolete because we've learned more things in the meantime. That manual, when I put it out, was free, and people downloaded it 1.4 million times, and then it was translated voluntarily into 23 languages and downloaded I don't know how many other times beyond that. So it was all described right in the other system, and we've developed it and expanded it since, and that's, again, all online for